Let's get a battle report done. Song Fire and Ice. Here we go. There is the basic deployment for Fire and Blood. Those archers have been outflanked. Units have been marked over on the side there. And I'll go through the army lists here in a second. So we've got, we'll start with the Starks over here. We've got, as a proxy, these Tully Calves are being proxied for the House Umber Ravengers, which I don't have the models for yet. Everything else is accurate, though. We've got our Stark Bow and Jojen in there. We've got Robb Stark, our commander, with the Bog Devils. Big John Umber in with his Berserkers. And over here we have some House Mormont Bruisers with a House Umber Champion to give them insight and highest attack die value. Over here we've got Mr. Oberyn Martel. The man needs no introduction. There he is. He's over... right there he is. He's not painted yet. He's in some Spearmen. We've got the Sand Skirmishers, which are probably the coolest unit ever. They have, I think they're running a Spear Captain in there to throw out some weakened tokens. We've got the Dune Vipers over there, which are marked. Harmon Ullers in there to help give some reinforcements. And we have some Cell Swords brought along, and Nymeria Sand is in there to try to help them strip off some extra wounds to help get those pillage tokens out a little faster. And for NCUs, for these Starks, we've got Caitlin Stark and we've got Sansa over here. And on the Martel side over there, you can see you got Varys. You've got, what's her name? The Illyria Sand. And then you've got good old Dorian over there in his wheelchair, ready to lay it out. As I said before, the archers over there, they are outflanked, and they're about to be dropped here at the start of the round. And we are ready to go with Fire and Blood, and you guys can check the rule book for the basic rules on it. But essentially, you've got 18-inch deployments on this thing. That's why they're so close together. And units are marked. You each take turns marking 2 units after deployment, which we did. They were assigned objective cards. And basically, the deployment kind of worked crazy because they outflanked. The Starks held back their Ravagers, and they held back their Bruisers over there to guard against that, leaving Robb up here with only 3 trays. These archers are in a great spot for deployment. They can fire over, they can ignore terrain when firing, which means they're great. I mean, they got range on them. Jojen's to give them 2 order tokens of rerolls. That's pretty cool. So Oberyn kind of moved over that side to kind of avoid these archers a bit. We'll see how it all plays out. And looks like Big John will be tangling with Oberyn pretty quick here. So that's deployment. Okay, so basically what happened was, I'll start with the big news of this round was Robb Stark did get a charge off. He has a +1 movement, so these guys are moving at 7. He had an 11-inch charge. He got it. He rolled like a 5 or something. And these guys, he punched out some wounds on these folks. Unfortunately, when these the Sand Skirmishers retreated back to quickfire, they only peeled off, I think it was 4. But then Robb failed his panic check and lost 3 more, which was devastating. And since the Martels go first in round 2, he might not be sticking around very long. Over here, Big John also got up there in the mix pretty good. Punched out a lot of wounds on Oberyn's unit. They were playing a tactics card to shut down Oberyn set for charge. They played Winners coming on them to kind of negate that. And then over here, the Dune Vipers, thanks to that tactical reposition, got them in better position over here to charge from the side. And Big John's taking some pretty big hits over here. Over there, the archers and the licensing Cell Swords were just out of positions. They did maneuver. They before that they got a free attack with the swords, and they almost destroyed this unit, and they had to retreat back. Not retreat, but they had to maneuver backwards. And that's kind of how it sits right now. Over here, the Umber Ravengers, and then which are Tully Calves, but they're Umber Ravengers for this game, and the archers still hanging back, and the carnage is mounting up here. So here we go, on to round 3. So start of round 2 is just some crazy stuff. So Robb does not activate, but he does do scout openings on Oberyn's unit to give Big John, who's going to activate, wind up here. Big John does okay. He gets 6 hits with a precision, so Martels can save on 5 of them. And take a look at what they rolled. Look at that. That's ridiculous. They're going to save That's crazy. Only 2 wounds for this after all that big punishment. So 2 wounds for the Martels, and they will take their panic. All that just for 2 wounds. Oberyn passes panic check. Of course he does. Big John, after all that help and all that stuff, just barely punching out the weight here. So I think the Starks are pretty much done here because I know Rob's a goner. So back over to Martels. So wrapping up the round here. The big moment here was Rob did die earlier. But luckily the Starks had both North Remembers cards out there, so that got them the power up here. The Umber Ravage made a huge charge with a little bit of help from Swift Reposition, because the Starks do own the horses. It moved up a little bit, just enough to get them in charge range. They were successful. They went over this corpse pile, which took away their charge bonus, but still, they had highest attack die. That was 8 dice in the flank. They only scored, I think it was like 3 hits from that. It was a horrible roll. It was almost all 2s. And Dorian, of course, he rolls his usual 6s on defense. It took like 1 wound. And I think Dorian lost another wound from a failed panic check, just 1 wound. So after all that, just basically nothing. The Sand Skirmish had to kind of maneuver backwards. They were in charge from these guys. The Martels couldn't play the card superior position this time because they had it, but this was a flank shot. The Archers have been doing minimal damage. Again, they took a shot at Oberyn too earlier and just couldn't get it done. Big John hangs in there. Had to burn to the last token to stay in there, but he's still hanging around. The Archers over there. The Cell Swords are still out of position. The Mormont Bruisers did maneuver up and try to get out of range of that spikes, the spikes, to hopefully make a charge next round. Starks will be going first, and that is kind of how it ended right now. Oh, before Oberyn, early in the round, he did put a coin out there on Big John, knowing that Big John's days are probably numbered. So one thing I did want to mention, so after the Starks did have the card Sudden Retreat in their hands, so when those Dune Vipers attacked Big John, he could have retreated before those Archers teed up on him. Unfortunately, though, he'd already had Rising Temperatures on him, and since round 2, he can't be targeted with tactics cards. That's kind of why he's still stuck there. So you can see how these cards can really add a lot of flavor to your planning and to the outcome in these battles. Let's go ahead and recap round 3. Oberyn is now dead. He did hang in there. He was matched up against these Ravengers, and they whiffed on their first attack. Oberyn stuck around a little longer than he probably should have. He was around long to put the... he did get a cheap attack on these guys. Manicore Venom is on the Umber Ravagers. He also was able to stick around long enough to put a second coin on Big John before Big John was finally killed off by the Archers. And Big John did hold on for a while. He also was sticking around pretty well too. And the Lysine Cell Swords finally tried to get in the action. Took a desperate charge at the Bruisers. Didn't quite make it. And on top of that, they took 3 wounds off of that spikes. I think I forgot to do a panic check for them too. I can't remember. We'll say they passed it. Anyways, that's where we stand right now. The Sand Skirmish over doing some work over here. So, yeah, it's hard to say who's winning right now. It's 4-4, and both sides are whittled down pretty good here. I'm probably going to give the advantage to the Martels because they have more NCUs to work with, but we'll see how it all shakes out. Oh, now I remember. So earlier in the round, the Archers took a shot at Oberyn's unit first before these guys took a shot, and they whiffed. They had highest attack die value, 7 dice thrown. They are hitting on 2s thanks to the North Remembers, and they just whiffed. I mean, they rolled a bunch of 1s, put out almost no damage on Oberyn, which is why it took 2 of these units to eventually take him down. Oberyn only had like 3 wounds, I think, on his tray, because he used a Dorian trick over there to restore 2 wounds. So yeah, these guys whiffed big time. And these guys didn't do that well either. They're hitting on 2s. He was rolling 8 dice, and he still rolled 4 1s. So these 2 units here had horrible output, just dumb luck, that really resulted in taking 2 of them to take down Oberyn's Spearmen with only like 3 wounds on it. So that's that. End of round 4, and it's down to 4 units. You got the Bowmen on both sides, the Cell Swords over there with 2 guys on it, and you've got these guys. Remember, these guys are Umber Ravengers this game, not Tully Cav. And boy, I tell you, let's go through what kind of happened here. The lysine cell swords were over there on the spikes. They had to charge through it. They were able to knock out the bruisers. They picked up a pillage token for their troubles. They were able to, then they had to do their maneuver, but it put them on that spikes again, and they took quite a bit from that, but they're still hanging on. The other big story over here was the Umber Ravagers were able to take out those sand skirmishers. They're dead now, but man, they are loaded to the gills with problems. Oh my gosh, they've got the Manicore Venom on them. They've got, well, the Northern members is helping them a little bit, but they've got Warrior's Vengeance. Every time they roll a 1, that's a wound. I mean, every time they get vulnerable, when they activate, they're going to become... Every time it activates, it becomes vulnerable. So now on, whenever they activate, they're going to take a wound. Plus, Dorian can snipe them with his Water Gardens play over there. I don't know if these guys will make it through the game. So it might come down to these Stark Bowmen. The problem, though, is Starks have the... In round 5 going into that, they're going to have the first turn, but they're not in line of sight of the Cell Sword to zap them out. Their options are kind of limited. They're going to either have to shift over, which might put them... Oh, they can't even do that, really. No. If they do a maneuver from the horses, they're just going to get charged anyways. Yeah, so we'll see how it all plays out. But like I said, this is a game mode with a lot of blood. And the Cell Swords had a big point swing on that. That was a marked unit killing another marked unit. It's a 3-point swing. So right now, the Martels are up 7-5. So Starks, believe it or not, are still kind of in start of round 5, and the Starks dumped all their cards, drew 3 new ones. I'm sorry, drew 2 new ones. They kept assault orders. And they got winners coming, which is pretty good for them. But they really got swift reposition, which is huge because going to the swords now, they can drop this card at the start of their turn. They can go ahead, shift 2 inches, and possibly get in line of sight of these guys and zap them off the board before they do anything. This might be that card right there may have just saved the Starks and possibly gotten them either maybe a tie or a win. We're going to see what happens. Remember, it's a marked unit about to kill another marked unit. So yes, playing swift reposition, that shift put them into line of sight, and they just took the shot and they nailed them, and that's it. So the lysine cells are gone. It's a marked unit killing another marked unit. That's 3-point swing, and they did take some wounds here for Warrior's Vengeance. There were a couple ones, but it couldn't be helped. They had to do it. So on to the Martel's turn. At the end of round 5, we're down to just the archers duking it out. We've got Starks with 8 points. I'm sorry, 7 points. And the Martels with, I think it's 8. No, Martels have 7. And the Starks have 8. There it is. Well, and of course the Bowmen are loaded up to the gills. Oh my gosh, they're just absolutely just pounded by the Martel's cards, but hanging tough. And over there, the one thing that helped these archers out for next round, and remember the Martels will go first in round 6, is that Varys, when the Varys used that maneuver to get these guys. How'd they get back there? They had a maneuver. Yeah, they maneuvered back to get in line of sight of the Bowmen for next round. So they'll be able to get a couple shots off on the Bowmen in round 6. We'll see how it plays out. The Martels have ways to heal outside of the bags, and the Starks really don't. So it'll come down to it. If the Starks can kill those guys, they'll win the game. If the Martels win, or if they kill these guys, even though they don't kill them, they want them to stalemate, the Martels will still wind up winning by 1 point. We'll see how it plays out. Well, that was something. So the Martels went to the swords, as you expected. There they went. Took their first shot, and man, they just punched out the hurt. These guys haven't activated yet with that reroll. They did not take the vulnerable token off. Didn't really need it, even though Starks rolled 2 6s. But they failed their panic check for 3 more, and it just decimated the unit. This really hamstrings them because they were hoping to survive that first attack with a few more guys on there. But man, only 3 left. They can't afford to wait around. These guys are a shot on them. So they're going to have to, weaken token too, which sucks. Thanks to Illyria Sand, she flipped the one on them back over to here. Oh, man, this is bad. They have no choice but to take a shot back over here and hope they can zap them before they get zapped. They do have this helping them out, but then they've got Roar's Vengeance on them, and they've got the other card, the Unexpected Exhaustion on them, which is, they got a vulnerable, puts them at -1 to hit. So this, they negates out this. So they're back to hitting on 3s, but they do have highest attack die value, so 7. Let's go ahead and try it and see. Stark Bowman tried to hit back, man, but that Unexpected Exhaustion card with that vulnerable token put them -1 to hit. So now this gives them a +1 to hit, takes away a -1. They're back to 3s, throwing 7 dice because of highest attack die value. Only pulled off 4 guys. These guys passed their panic check. So it looks like Martels will just hang on. They're left with 2 guys. They lost 1 for Roar's Vengeance. And yeah, not good. So we'll see. Well, the Starks were up by a point trying to run the clock out. They maneuvered with the zone over there. They maneuvered the bowman out of line of sight of the bowman. But Dorian came along, jumped on the crowns. Roar's Vengeance, when you target with the crowns, you lose a guy automatically. That's that guy there. And they failed their panic check thanks to Unbent Unbroken. And that was it. So the Starks are dead. That is a marked unit being killed. That is a... That's 2 points for the Martels. They will wind up winning this game by 1 point. And that is your lone surviving unit over there. It was pretty tough for these guys. They just punishing these guys with these cards. Anyways, that's it, guys. So thanks for watching. Martels will take a, looks like a 9 to 8 win on this one. See you later. Bye.